Hello, another tip of the day from a former cult member. Today I want to talk about dating. Is dating weird there? They might hide that it's weird at first, or maybe not too well. In the one that I was in the cult. I called it Xenos, so I usually say Xenos when I talk about them because it's what I'm used to saying. But they changed it to Dwell Community Church. And they're a big recruiting group. They really like to focus their growth with high school, middle school, college age people who are usually starting to want to date or dating those ages. And one thing peculiar about Xenos is anyone who has been recruited there probably have the same experience of immediately after you start going to their home church, and especially cell group, that the boyfriend or the girlfriend that you had, even if you're engaged, especially if you've had sex with them ever, then they're gonna definitely not want you together, ever. And everyone's also, just FYI, let's throw this in there for anyone who even talks to someone in Xenos. If you tell them any of your sexual privacy, they are telling everybody there. So anything you don't want everyone at Xenos to know, don't ever tell them. Just keep things you're okay with them screenshotting, repeating, even your most personal. Just don't tell someone. It's just a weird thing there. I'll get into in another video. But they will immediately make the person your daughter, or if you're a teenager or you're 20 years old and you're engaged, you think this is a church for you, they're going to challenge that engagement. They're going to love bomb you guys for a while, separate you, become the best friends with your whoever you're engaged to. The boys are going to completely invest in him, and the girls are going to invest in you. They're going to want to break you up and have you both in ministry houses. And like I said, if you've ever had sex before, you'll never be the one they ever suggest for you as a dating mate again. And this is common and weird, and it's rigid. And there's a lot of, I don't know, it's such a window into other weird things going on in Xenos, but I want to stick to weird dating. Watch out for how people date. Like when you are church shopping or you're in a group and everyone's single, why is everyone single? Why is there such a pattern like that? I don't think there should be a huge pattern of many singles holding out for a series of levels. Like, I know I was talking about levels before, but if you thought the meetings were micromanaged, personalized dating is almost a form of entertainment, in my opinion, to the founding family. A power, a kingdom, and they enjoy, especially college age, private information. There's a lot of excommunications that go on in that age group, where when they are excommunicated, like I've said in former videos, that they don't just break up, they have to tell everybody, maybe a room full of 30 people, a whole home church. If you're lucky, it's just a cell group, so maybe 15 details, not just that you were in sexual sin, but everybody knows how far you've gone with that person at some point. I mean, I know for a while there's love bombing, and they don't get you to just give this right away unless you just have one close person who recruited you who's likely telling these things as well. Gosh, just protect your privacy in any group you join. You just protect your privacy and understand, even people who aren't in a religious situation, who have children in the ages of 20 who are looking for their mate. There is a respect that parents have for their kids' own choice, and they're finding out who they are and who is right for them. And in Xenos indwell takes over your own, like if they don't like the person you picked, or there's just, they don't like anyone wanting to pick you, which is often the case, because I believe they use dating as an incentive in Xenos. First of all, I think the fact that you go to a college group and there's so many single women, because, you know, they're working their way up to date just like the men are. Because, like I said, you go in, you might have a mate, but you're single pretty soon if you're doing the walk the rigid way they like it. So you're going to get single, you're going to move into a ministry house. You're going to work towards dating because you're just not ready yet. And you're not going to be ready unless you do the rigid plan. And if you walk out the rigid plan in any certain type of way, you're going to get what I said, a problem, right? You're going to be divisive, you're going to be some kind of, they're going to find problems to say that you have that you got to work on before you can date. And then the people who do things the way the founding family like things done in order to have an ordained dating, these two, and sometimes they even pick mates out for people. They basically are like, you would be good with this one. I mean, I've seen Jesse do this, Dennis's daughter. They do pick and play with people's lives in a way that I just can't imagine being that intrusive in not only my own child's life, but other people's. And sometimes, I remember talking to someone once, I was like, talking about the street, you know, and how, like, you know, I know my neighbors and everything, and I was telling them what it was like being in Xenos, and I said, it was really weird, because can you imagine knowing, like, all of your neighbors, like, who they dated, how far they've gone, like, if they're young, how far they've gone, if they're virgins, what they do in the bedroom, like, even, like, just private, even dignified people, like your grandma and grandpa, like, you don't want to know that, right? Well, you do there. And I used to think that it was special because I was Dennis's daughter's best friend, and, you know, when I was in high school, it was interesting to me because I thought that stuff was interesting because I was still thought sex was interesting, and I wasn't arrestedly developed. I didn't stay arrestedly developed in a sense that the family does, where they're still confused and obsessed with it, and they want to know about everyone's details. And even leaders report, you know, like, how's your prayer life, how's your walk, how's your sex life, you know, in your marriage. And so I know I started with dating, and I went around and I'm talking a little bit about the voyeurism again, but that's where it starts, right? It starts with break up with that guy, he's the problem, he's everything wrong. You know, when the relationship might have not have even needed to end. It's just Xenos didn't want you to do your life the way you were doing it. They wanted you to do it the way they do it. And the way they do it, it works out for them because they always have an incentive. They always have singles chasing a carrot, maybe hanging on there longer than they even wanted to be because they fell in love with somebody who's really just stuck there. And, you know, these are young kids. Some people are marrying people that they didn't really think would have been good later on in life, you know, and they stay with them there too when they don't want to. That's a whole nother video I can get into on how you might want to keep your daughter safe from that place, because not all the marriages turn out too well for them. Anyway, when sorry, so tip of the day would be watch out for weird dating in any type of group you're starting. Could be a cult.